Okay, this will be our final little watercolor. This is our source material for this. This is painting that I did on location. I rented a boat in France. My wife and I lived on a boat on the canal de Midi for a little while. It's a really nice place to tour the canals and make paintings as you went along. This is kind of a typical, more rural area in France. And there won't be a lot of drawing to this horizon line here. And then we'll climb to the pinnacle of the bridge and then, descend over on the other side. This is about halfway up the picture plane. We're dropping in some on the format, as always. And so we'll start in here, line that indicates that area. And then we'll have the bridge climb some. Pinnacle's a little bit over towards the right, it's not dead center in this. And then the bridge descends. So let me strengthen my lines here. Make sure you can see them. All right, we'll drop off of this and just down a little bit, sort of in front of that bridge. And this is going to indicate the water's edge coming back almost into the corner, not quite. We will complete the bridge. This is parallel to the bottom top of the picture plane, just running out parallel. I'll drop that down some. And opening archway in the bridge. Other bottom of the bridge as it meets the water. And over here we have a bank again that's climbing up a little bit in the corner, and then it's running out towards the edge of the picture plane. Over here to the right hand side of the bridge, we've got some foliage. I'm just going to indicate it. We've got a fir tree climbing. A little bit more foliage. Over here we have a little house, probably storage shack of some sort, barn or something, which is just a rectangle, and then has a sloped roof on it. All these lines are running pretty much parallel to the bottom top of the picture plane. It's got a couple of windows in it, little small windows. Climbing off of this bank right in here. About right in here we have a tree trunk kind of running to the left and then curling back in. That, you don't need to do a lot of drawing for that. It sort of runs off the top of the picture plane. Behind the little barn we have some more foliage in the background, more foliage in here. Very, very distant foliage back in there. Under the bridge, running at a diagonal, you have the bank of the water over here. There's another little light sun catching area of the bank. The rest of this is pretty dark in here. And that's probably good enough on the drawing aspect for this. That's the just the way we handle the watercolor in it. For most of it will, take care of itself. So it's good enough for the drawing, I think. Right, we'll start up here in the sky space, for which we're just going to use some water. And we're just wetting this area. You can go right through this tree if you want. You don't have to be too terribly careful about the way it meets this other foliage. We're just dampening this area in the sky. And then we will drop in some light blue into that. It's a pretty sunny, bright day, so we're just going to kind of drop it in, let it do what it wants to do. I'm not going to come down to the bridge. We're going to leave this light down in here, so just kind of drop it in. Let it get a little darker as it moves towards the top of the picture plane. How much activity you want in the sky is going to be kind of up to you. I would suggest not staying up here and overworking this. Get it in pretty loosely, pretty freely, and let it go. Deepen it up just a little bit over here. Right, while we're working with this blue, while we're giving this a little bit of drying time, we're working for speed here. When you're on a boat and you have a schedule and you have to get to somewhere where you can buy some groceries and, a bottle of wine or something, you don't have time to tinker around with the watercolor for a long period of time, so you have to move it quickly. So while that dries, we're going to work down here in the water area. I did not wet this prior. I'm just adding a little blue to it, very light blue, because it needs to reflect the sky, and keeping most of my strokes moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, so that we give some reflection in this water of the sky space. Alright, because this area up here is still drying a little bit. If I go into that too quickly, I'm going to have some blooming, so I'm going to come down here and I'll work with this area with light green and yellow, and this area with light green and yellow. So we have this lighter green. We can put it along the top of this. Maybe add a little yellow to that. And we'll do the same for this area over here. Alright, given that it won't make much difference if we get some blooming down in here, we can go ahead and deal with this bank. Notice I'm an expressionist, so I'm pretty hot with color sometimes, even though I'm working with something that's realism. I'll take a lot of liberty with color, purples and things back in here, and oranges and purples and blues. So we'll continue along that realm since I'm working for my own work here. And we'll come down in here with some, burnt sienna, a little bit of orange, and we're simply working dry brush now. We're just going to get a little color built into it. All right, so I'm just kind of tapping in a few places here, just to get some color built in. And maybe build in a little bit of yellow ochre in this bank. All right, we could go to some purples. And why do we do this? Because we can. It's the only answer there is for that. We're just building in some color activity in here. And we can go into some greens. Let's go with some deeper greens here. So we'll get a really deep green out of green and a little bit of black. We want to be on the green side though. Don't let it go towards entirely black. It should be green. And we'll start to work some of that in here in the bank. I'm more or less I'm not really painting, sweeping this in. I'm more or less tamping it in. So it's kind of dotting in along the bank. And we'll do a little more of that over here. And it's just kind of tapping in some stuff. We'll stay down here working on this bank for a little while we give drying time. And you can go to, I'm going to go to the deeper blue. And we'll maybe add in some blues along the water's edge here. Could use some right underneath that bridge. And then I'm going to make an adjustment to my source. I only have water in the brush now. I'm going to pull some of this down into the water. It's just water on the brush. And then pull it down and then crisscrossing some. Some will pull down some and we'll crisscross a little bit into it. We'll give a little more the feeling of depth to that water space down in there. So pull some off the bank into the water, and then cross back. It won't matter if this is a little damp at this point. We're going to go in and strengthen up the bank with green and black. So we'll strengthen up where the bank hits the water. This doesn't need to be a line. It's going to kind of form a line, but it will. We're just trying to give that bank a little more strength. And go into the lighter green now. This set of watercolors you have that you're working out of is referred to as opaque watercolor, which means that with an opaque watercolor, it's similar to a gouache. You can sometimes with opaque watercolor lay in lighter colors over the top of darker colors to some degree. So we'll put in some brighter greens in here. A few little areas. Maybe over here a little bit too. Might need a little higher climb in this bank here, so I'll put in a little more dark green in here. I'm not too happy with the way this bank is hitting this. I'm going to use a little more yellow in here and let it fuse some. It's not too bad over there. Okay, most likely if the gloss is left that, then it's workable. I'm going to work in a few light purples in here, just laying them in behind everything, just because we can. We're going to build green in over the top of this, but we're going to liven it up some. Also, this is going to act as warmth in the painting, so it will keep the painting attractively warm. While we have some of this light purple on the brush, we can take it down into the water area as well, so it finds its way down here into the water in a place or two. Maybe a few more blues, which will just allow it to kind of peek through here in a place or two. A little very light blue, not much. And we'll switch over to what's referred to as local color now. I sort of lost all the blue that's in there. I think I'm going to put it back in. Kind of lost it over here too, so get some of that back in there. Mainly just because I want to see it dried out a little flat. Right, now we can move into some greens, local color. It is green. And so we can go into the green, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre in that green, make it a little more natural looking. Yeah. And we'll start just kind of tamping that in up in here, just sort of dotting it in really. And you don't want to lose every bit of that purple that you put in there, so don't kill it all, just indicate some greens in here, medium greens. And we'll put these medium greens, the green and sienna together. Over here on this side, we've got to be careful not to lose that bridge form. So just kind of tap this in here and there. Going into some really pure green. And we'll come to the top of this tree line up here. Some, even though this is going to be pretty deep, this is going to be pretty dark when we finish this. And now into some dark green, a little black in it. Something we can have a deep green, but it's going to be on the green side, heavy on the green, but a little bit of black in it. And we've got some very deep shadows right in here to the left of that barn. I'm trying to preserve some blues and purples in there just because I want to. And then this shadow begins to climb down this bank. So we'll let it climb down the bank a little bit. And it drops in below that back horizon line some. Put a few here and there up in here. Some strength out there. Just want a little bit of that purple peeking through here, not a whole lot. And we'll go with that same mixture to give just a little more strength to this tall tree, mainly over here on the left, just a few places. This tree's catching a lot of light. We're going to let that purple act as the way it catches the light. Maybe a little bit over here. And this is a deep value black-green back behind this building, and that's going to help make that building stand out. So down against it, and then we'll pull up with it. This is so dark, it's going to call for me to come over here and deepen a little bit of this. So, darken some of this. Right, well, we have this on the brush. We're going to come over and use it again over here. Just kind of tamping in a few places. then in this fur, we're going to use our darkest dark that we've used in here, and it's going to be the black and green. Might be heavier on the black this time, but it'll have some green in it. And we'll work that from the center out, so we'll be coming out, out, out. So you're going in the center of this thing and working out. Might leave a little bit of that purple that I put in there earlier. So you get kind of that feeling of the fir tree. I don't know how much of this purple I'll leave in here, but for the moment, we're going to leave that and think about it later. Come down to the bridge. I think maybe I could deepen that a little bit. Maybe deepen that area in here. Make that bridge stand out more if it's a little bit dark along here. Okay, back in here is a very deep dark, so we're going to use that in here. I'm going to avoid going all the way to the edge of that bridge because I'm going to put some blue in there later. So then we'll allow it to get a little lighter down in there. So we'll go back into this light green and allow it to lighten up some as it comes down towards the riverbank again, the canal bank. Right here we have a really light area, just the pure lighter green. So catching some light right in there. While we have this on our brush, we'll introduce it in that tree line that's way back there in the background. And now we'll deal with the side of this little barn. It's probably best to go into a little yellow ochre or just a touch of orange, not much orange. And we can paint that in flatly. I got a little muddy on me. We can paint that in flatly. I think I'll leave that little bit of blue that's there. Alright, we painted that in flatly, but to get this highlight that is here while this is still wet, we're just going to push into it with paper towel to give us a little bit of a highlight. So we'll get light hitting this. Then for the roof of this farm, I'm going to go into some just pure orange. We want it bright. I think that's the reason I painted this to start with. I just liked the way it was catching, you know, the roof of this barn was catching light and was so bright. So we'll just go with pure orange here. Let it catch the light. Right, the first thing we're going to do with this bridge form is place the shadow in this underneath it here, and to do that we will use purple with a little bit of this deeper blue in it. This will be purple and blue, and it's going to be remaining over there on the blue side, so it'll be a warm blue, and we'll indicate that rather thin line underneath it. We're leaving a little bit of white between that line and the tree line back there. A little bit of white's left right there. So and we can use this same mixture but thinner, which is purple and a little bit of the deeper blue. And then give it a water in it so that it's thinner. And dealing with this bridge, we're simply going to start tamping in, and we're not trying to cover all the white right now, okay? We're just tamping in, putting dots in it all over the place. So we got this kind of gray purple. Right now it's going to look a little strange, but it won't later. Don't cover all the white. No, just tamp in dots. Dot, 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 dot. And then while this is on the brush, we'll pull a little bit of that down into the water. Right there along the bottom, just a little. Okay, the likelihood is that this area is pretty dry now, so we'll pick up something of a brown, deep brown with this burnt sienna and some black. And get rid of some of this paint in the wells. It's getting a little confusing. So we got a deep brown now, and this we'll use for the trunk of the tree. And as you get up in here, you're going to ease up on the pressure so that only the slightest point of this brush is hitting this tree. Takes a little finesse to do this, I tell you. And that might be good enough. I guess you could have fewer limbs than I'm putting into that tree. I don't think it would make that much difference. Well, I have this real dark here. I think I'm going to use it over here some on the left-hand side of this fir tree. Let's strengthen that some. And get a little down here too, because stuff seems to be drying out a little bit lighter than I want to see it. Okay, while you have this mixed up, same stuff we used in Trunk-or-Treat, and I wandered around the painting a little bit with it. We can put in these two windows. And we can put a very light, a very thin line underneath that roof line to indicate a cast shadow from that roof line. Back to this bridge. We're going to go now with this deeper blue, but very, very light. Okay, it's going to have a lot of, not much pigment in it, a good bit of water in it. And we're going to continue to tamp into this. And you'll somewhat be dissolving some of the stuff you have underneath, but not entirely. So concentrating on the white unarticulated areas now. And we can go in with a little burnt sienna, you know, if you want it to have a little more of a natural look. The burnt sienna should be really light, but, you know, we can introduce some warms in here. Also, it will have the effect of graying this a little bit, so it won't be so starkly blue-purple. And you'll keep your, you know, you'll be able to keep your feeling of the stonework in the bridge that way. Okay, on this side of the bridge, we're going to go with some deeper blue, and I'm going to paint it blue. Right? Just the blue, and it's going to be narrow at the top, and it'll get thicker as it comes down. A little bit of blue and purple again together. Let's give this bank a little more definition in here. Okay, now we're going to do something that some watercolorists will tell you can't do, but you can. We're going to mix up a light green, and it's going to be pretty watery, but it's going to be pretty rich on the pigment side. And we're going to use that to just drop in over the top of some of the foliage and stuff that we already have here. Now you'll be using watercolor in an opaque way. Alright, so drop in. You can preserve how much of that purple you want to preserve. That'll be kind of up to you, but you can drop it in here and there. We'll drop it in over here, and this is rich on the pigment side, but get a bit of water in it too. Could do more of that down in here if you want, if you feel like you want more variety in it. I'm going to darken this tree line a little at the bottom with a little black and green. Okay. I'm going to make a formal adjustment right here. I don't like the way that the trunk of this tree is cutting off this house or defining the edge of that house. So I'm going to take out a little bit of that area. I have just water on the brush right now, and I'm kind of scrubbing into the paper. And we'll pick it back up and hope that I get, you know, something kind of light. And I'm going to replace that with a little bit of light blue and purple. I think that's a little better. I think I'm going to move this more towards blue, purple. Decisions that I'm making now are for just to have more color in this thing and have some more excitement in it, you know. Maybe a little more blue right in here. So a little bit too much over there on the side of purple. The line right here is a little bit hard. I'm going to soften it some. And I think I'm going to use a little blue purple. Let it be more purple. Or maybe some cast shadow right in here. So. Alright, I just have water on the brush right now. I'm just softening some of this a little bit. I think that's about it for this little watercolor. It's not a complicated one, so I don't think it's going to benefit from us sticking in here and tinkering around with it. Lifting a little bit in here, you can lift pigment out. If you think something's too dark, you can kind of lighten it a little bit. I think that looks a little better. It's lighter, and maybe use a little yellow in it. Alrighty, that pretty much does it for this little thing. Apart from, if there's any little areas that you don't like in particular or want to tinker around with more in your own piece, that would be individual. Not everybody will have the same problems or want to make the same adjustments in the paintings, but the paintings in front of you, you can tinker with it some more. To get things, kind of where you want them. I might add just a little more blue to the sky up here. Dry down a little bit flat. And I think that looks pretty good.